Welcome and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Slash Your Days Outstanding with AI-Powered Accounts Receivable, brought to you by IOFM and sponsored by Accenture. We have a few housekeeping notes to go over before we get started. If you need any technical assistance, we first recommend refreshing your browser. If you continue to have technical questions or issues using the On24 platform, please use the Q&A box and we will respond as soon as we can. There will be no call-in number for today's session. To connect, you need to have access to either a computer, tablet, or cell phone audio. Everyone has been muted. So that you don't miss out on any shared content or an opportunity to share valued feedback with us, we recommend you enable pop-ups within your browser. If you happen to get disconnected, you can log on again using the instructions provided in your webinar confirmation email. If you continue to have trouble, please email webinars@iofm.com and we'll respond as soon as we can. For your convenience, everything in the webinar console is fully customizable, so you can move things around, resize the window, and even turn on captions for this event. At the bottom of your console, you will also find a resources box where you can download the slides as well as any additional content for today's presentation. And again, you can ask questions at any time by using the Q&A box. We'll leave time at the end of the discussion to answer as many questions as time allows. And finally, this webinar will be recorded and you'll receive a thank you email with the on-demand materials within 2 business days. And with that out of the way, I'd like to welcome our speakers for today. We'll hear from Mark Brousseau, President of Brousseau and Associates. Over the past 30 years, Mark has established himself as a thought leader on accounts payable, accounts receivable, payments, and document automation. A popular speaker at industry conferences and on webinars and podcasts, Mark advises prominent end users and solutions and service providers on how to use automation to improve document and payment-driven business processes. Mark has chaired numerous educational conferences and has served on several industry committees and boards. He resides in Center City, Philadelphia with his wife and 3 sons. We'll also hear from Don Milley, Senior Director of Product Management at Accenture. A 20-year industry veteran, Don leads Accenture's order-to-cash product team. He's won multiple industry awards for innovation and is the author of The E-Marketplace, Strategies for Success in B2B E-Commerce. We'll also hear from Julian Nadoud, Senior Vice President of Innovation at Accenture. As an acknowledged industry leader, Julian's impressive career of advanced innovations includes designing and implementing solutions at leading companies in the US, Europe, and Asia. At Accenture, he now concentrates on experimenting and implementing new ideas related to artificial intelligence and the blockchain. At this time, I'd like to welcome our speakers and hand the webinar off to Mark.
Thank you so much, Jovi, and thank you all for joining us today. You see those? The economic storm clouds are gathering. Sky-high inflation, rising interest rates, unpredictable global supply chains, and a challenging labor market have created an environment where folks aren't so sure where the economy is going to go. I'm going to leave it to the pundits to argue whether we're in for a soft landing or a hard landing or the status quo. But the thing for AR leaders to know is that we've got to be ready for anything. There's a good chance in this uncertain economic environment that we're going to see our customer payments start to slow down if they haven't already. And so in this environment, cash flow means more. And one powerful tool that many organizations are using to help accelerate their cash flow is artificial intelligence. This emerging technology is proven to help accelerate cash flow and provide AR departments with a powerful tool for freeing up working capital. And that's going to be the focus of today's webinar. We're going to discuss the AR life cycle and where some of that friction might come into play. We'll talk about AI and how it revolutionizes accounts receivable and helps you address some of the biggest trends in AR. We'll also talk about DSO and how it's become a challenge in these uncertain economic times. And we're going to provide you with a roadmap for using AI to help reduce your DSO. And of course, as always, we'll leave plenty of time for your questions. Before we do any of that, Well, I wanted to hand it off to Don to tell you a little bit about the sponsor of today's webinar, CoreCentric. Welcome aboard, Don.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. It's a pleasure to be able to speak with you all today about some exciting emerging technologies and approaches to the use of AI in the accounts receivable space. Before we get to that, a quick note about CoreCentric. CoreCentric's been around for nearly 3 decades and has grown up in the order-to-cash and accounts receivable space. We work with thousands of clients, engaging with nearly 2 million of their business partners, having processed well over $100 billion of transactions. In many cases, we provide a solution called Managed AR, which marries technology, managed services, and finance. We manage a company's AR portfolio, can even sit in the middle of a transaction, applying a DSO acceleration. For instance, we can pay you every 30 days or whatever, regardless of when or even if your customer pays. Managing the collections process and credit risk for our customers, or reducing your DSO, often freeing up very substantial working capital. So we have a deep understanding of the AR space, and it's in that context we'll be talking to you today around our experiences in the application of AI to accounts receivable, plus what we're seeing in the marketplace as a whole. The accounts receivable lifecycle, if you're sitting in on this, chances are you have a pretty solid familiarity with it, but generally we define it as the process from onboarding through credit management, purchase order management, invoicing, payment management, cash application, disputes and collections, and of course the intelligence and insights that's a growing portion of that business. Optimizing this lifecycle often relates to offering flexible payment options, automating tasks, accelerating the intake, clear communication in a format best suited to a customer, early intervention, reduction of errors, and certainly a bunch of other things. The application of AI to the reduction of these issues in the accounts receivable lifecycle tends to focus a little bit on a few buckets that we're going to be talking about for the rest of the conversation. That's streamlining processes, automating tasks, driving efficiency. And of course, reducing DSO can improve your cash flow, lower operational costs, and perhaps most importantly, enhance your customer relationships. So how is AR specifically helping in this? We're going to have Julian, who is head of our Business Innovation Lab, talk more specifically about the top trends in the business application of AI to business. And then we'll get more specific around the application of this to AR and bring it home to DSO reduction at the end. Julian.
Thank you, Don, and nice being here. Nice for coming. So I'm just going to start. I mean, I've been working on deeply in AI for the last few years, and it's so large that I'm not going to talk about everything. Okay, so my goal here is to focus on few areas of AI that have a good impact on the AR and business application in general. So what I'm going to say can be applied to AR, but also to many other areas. And you'll see that we, at CoreCentric, we not only use that for AR, but we use that also for AP or payment or different things. So the first one, the top AI trend is very well known. It's predictive analytics. It has been there for quite a few years. And it's basically the combination of, when you implement like a financial system, whether it's on the AR, AP, or ERP, or anything else, you're collecting a lot of data, right? You're structuring data, you're collecting data. And today, I mean, we have quite a few years of operation in many companies. And so we have a lot of data, what we call structured data. Some of them are time-stamped. So we have also the history of data. And we had in the recent year a good improvement in what we call big data. So big data is the technology that is able to collect and store and query a very large amount of data. And if you consider a company like CoreCentric with thousands of customers, you can think of how much data we can have actually on the in terms of all these transactions have been going for many years. Okay, so big data is a way to be able to address this large amount of data. And the last one is what we call the machine learning. So the machine learning is the technology that is used to look at this data and find what we call patterns. So basically, all the data, they have common patterns. And so we use this pattern to be able to predict what's going on. So by looking at the past, we can predict the future. We can find correlation. And what's pretty nice about machine learning compared to the standard software application, we don't develop something which is static. It's something that learns from data in almost real time. It's evolving, it's continuously improving. So that's a completely new beast compared to the standard application that you have in your ERP. So predictive analytics, we'll talk a little bit about that, what we can do with that. But that's one piece of the AI that has been there for quite a while, but still to be unleashed in your process, in AR process. The second one I want to talk about is something that has been there for quite a few years as well, is that AI is able to read and understand language. If you think about it, in any corporation, almost 90% of the data that you have is what we call unstructured or semi-structured. So unstructured is typically all the documents that you have written by human to be read by human. So it could be contract, it could be specification, a lot of things that are just text, right? And usually you use that as a kind of a digitalized document, but the computer is not able to read it, right? So this AI that we have developed, I mean, that has been developed for the last few years, is now able to combine what we call the vision with the natural language processing, and is able to read this document and find information out of this document. Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit about what we can do with that. And last but not least is the generative AI. I guess everyone has heard about this. The world-famous generative AI is ChatGPT, right? And it's kind of a new generation of AI that became possible because of the increasing power of GPU mainly. And now this generative AI, what we call large language model, are not only able to read and understand documents or language, it can read and understand image, video, sound, I mean, all kind of things, but it can also generate things. So it got the reasoning, it got so much knowledge that the generative AI can not only understand document, that can also generate text, document, image, and in the future, even video, music, etc. Right? So the generative AI is the next generation. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So that's basically the three trends. So what we have done, for example, at Concentric, we found out that, this one. We found out that there is a lot of document that sits in your computer. I don't know why it skips, sorry. That sits on the computer, but you have a lot of incoming documents. So this thing, it's shifting automatically. The incoming document is everything you receive. You can receive that from your customer, from your supplier, internally, etc. And what we found out is there are a lot of documents that you can receive, mainly by email, or maybe that can be uploaded or processed by your financial system, right? And the tricky part is how you're going to receive these documents. And we develop an AI actually that is able to analyze all these documents, whether it's a scanned document, it's a PDF, a native PDF document, etc. And what we do is we analyze this document and we kind of classify what this document is made of. Okay. So if it's a contract, for example, it's pretty easy to say, okay, it's a contract, but what type of contract, right? But if it's a document that is used for the transaction, like an invoice, a PO, or it could be a statement, a remittance, all of that, usually you don't get only one document. You get the document and you get what we call the trailing document or the attached or related documents. And the tricky part is not only to classify each part of the document, but to combine that into a document that can be used by the process, right? So for example, if you have an invoice and you attach a statement of a PO and a bill of lading and general terms, blah, 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 All of that is one document that is used for you to be able to reconcile that with, for example, the PO with the invoice, or with the bill of lading, or blah, 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 or the dispute, or whatever letter and communication you had, okay? So we developed this AI to be able to say, okay, let's ingest automatically all these incoming documents, classify them, and route them to whatever process needs to be processed, okay? And so the next AI that we developed is, now that we know that we have this document, for example, that could be a PO, a remittance, a payment request, or an invoice, we developed an AI that is able not only to read the documents. So typically we use an intelligent, what we call OCR. So the OCR is really able to collect all the information on documents. But we use also an AI to do the matching. So matching is a very difficult part of matching the information you have on the document with the information you have in your financial system. So for example, you have customer, you have supplier, you have PO, you have invoice, you have a bunch of information, and you need to match what is on the PO with what is on the master data, for example, okay? And that's kind of a completely new AI that is able to do some kind of fuzzy matching and being able to learn from that, okay? The next AI is typically what we call the verification and anomaly detection. So when you get document extraction, what you want to do is to evaluate how the data on the document, is that valid? Is that maybe a fraud document? Or did the AI did a good job extracting, matching the data? And so that's another kind of AI that does evaluation of data, choosing possibility, creating all kind of validation. And then the next step is usually to go into a manual review if there are anything that is to be reviewed, like a warning, or I didn't find this information, or it's not coherent, or the date looks strange, or blah, blah, blah. And what we did recently is we used the generative AI to be able to do automatic review like a human, okay? And this review allows us actually to remove a lot of friction, meaning that we don't go, instead of saying, okay, 5 or 10% of the document will go into a review because the AI is not sure about what's going on. The generative AI is able to do a lot of automatic review without human intervention, okay? And all of that goes into a loop. So that's what we call the machine learning, the supervised learning. And by doing all of that, if you find something wrong, then you can correct it. We learn from it, and it's automatically applied to the next iteration. Okay, so the next document coming in from the same origin will hopefully be completely automatically extracted and matched because of the supervised learning. So that's a very efficient process. You start by getting a document, and at the end you get an electronic document which is fully validated and data is automatically matched. Okay, and the goal for us is to kind of get what we call touch-free document for 95% in the case. Okay, all of that in few seconds. So I'm just going to show actually an example. So this example is going to be on the AP automation, but we use exactly the same process for the AR. Okay, so in this case, we are going to see how the system is. In this case, we have a received document. Usually it's coming from an email. So here we just upload it for the demo. And the document is automatically sent for the AI for processing, and that's where the classification is done. So what you can see here is everything has been processed like in few seconds, right? It's very, very fast. And then you can see here the review screen where you can match the information. So for example, in this case, you didn't find correctly the proper company because the address didn't match exactly, because the master data is not of the quality of what you get on the documents. And you can see that the system extracts all the information, okay? So the AI checks all the formats, reconciles all the amount, extract, in this case, all the line items, and check the tax, the total, the net, the charge, everything, including the country specific. Whatever it's US sales tax, we can also manage the Canadian sales tax. And just by reviewing that, so the user in this case just validates the result from the AI. You can see that the invoice has been created automatically. All the data has been reconciled, so it has been reviewed by the user. And so now if we process another document from the same origin, okay, so that's a new document from the same, in this case, supplier, you'll see that instead of going into the review screen, the system has learned from the previous screen, and now everything is fully touch-free, meaning that the system is able to tell, okay, now I know that the address is not the same, but I know that this is the right supplier. And so the system will extract everything automatically, reconcile everything, and so you have a very efficient process. Another application, which is kind of pretty new, is what we call the intelligent assistant. So that's something you'll see more and more. We started developing that a few years ago. That was kind of a little bit early in advance. That was way before ChatGPT. And we did that because, I mean, we saw an issue in adoption. So when you have a business application, and if you have like SAP, for example, you know what I'm talking about, it's always difficult for occasional users to use this application and to know how to use these applications, right? So when you have people using this application every day, all the day, it's nice. But if you have business user in the mix, it's becoming difficult to get the adoption. And one way to get this user using the application is to use a different way of interaction with the business application. And we found out that the what we call the conversational user interface is a good way for occasional user to interact with this application. Especially if you give them access, for example, to Microsoft Teams, so they don't even have to get into the application to do things. So what can you do with this type of assistant? You can use that actually to query information, ask about anything, and we'll see how it can help on the AR side. It can also assist in a variety of tasks, like displaying documents or collaborating, like the assistant can help getting two persons collaborating each other and being the middleman and being proactive, right? So like sending a notification to someone saying, okay, I have this actually, can you review that? And putting two persons in relationship actually automatically. So that's a very way of being proactive. So the assistant, by knowing what needs to be done, and we'll see that with the predictive analytic, can really notify the right user, a business user, to do things. And they can do that on your phone, on Teams, or in the application directly. Okay, so we'll just see a quick demo of what we have developed at Corecentric, which is Gopher. That's kind of the first generation of intelligent assistant, and we're working on something which is even more advanced thanks to generative AI.
Meet Gopher, Corecentric's intelligent assistant and the newest member of your team. Powered by our AI platform, Gopher changes the way you do business. In this short demo, we'll give you a glimpse into a few of its many capabilities. Gopher can be found in the bottom right corner of the Corecentric platform or connected to Microsoft Teams, so you can easily interface there. To get started, simply ask Gopher, what can you do, to discover an array of its capabilities and conversation starters. For example, you can ask Gopher to show my requisitions and be prompted to complete actions like send for approval with the click of a button. With voice-to-text capabilities via Microsoft Teams, you can ask Gopher for requisitions to approve, to easily approve, reject, or learn more about your requisitions. If you prefer to bring up the requisition in the application to take action from there, simply click on it in the chatbot, and you'll be directed to that exact location, eliminating the need to click through the application to find what you're looking for. Are you bogged down with meetings but need to access your to-do list? Gopher can help you out there too. When you ask, "What do I have to do?" a list of your action items for the day will appear quickly and efficiently. Or get specific data by asking Gopher queries like, "Show me POs for a specific supplier over $500 in the last year," to find out what step of the approval process a PO is currently in. And remember, there's no need to go into the Corecentric platform whatsoever. Gopher pairs with Microsoft Teams, so you can work with full functionality and make approvals from your mobile phone or any device you see fit. Change the way you work with Gopher Intelligent Assistant.
So thank you, Gopher. So you have seen actually the first generation of assistant that can do a lot of things. So it's basically what we call a conversational user interface. But it's just the beginning. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about that, but you can think about everything that can do, right? So now I'm going to go to Don actually to maybe explain a little bit how this predictive analytics combined with all of this technology can be applied to accounts receivable.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. Yeah, the third pillar of what we're seeing as a strategy for the application of AI to AR is the use of AR for smarter collection practices and the use of predictive AI for that. Imagine the value of knowing when a customer is going to pay, right? How often do you call someone and the check is in the mail? Sometimes they say that, but sometimes it really is in the mail. Regardless, the event you've called someone and payment is already scheduled or underway, then you've wasted their time and yours. So using AI, we can make pretty good estimates as far as when a customer is likely to pay and reserve action until after that date has passed. Furthermore, AI models can learn and understand what the best contact method is. Do they prefer a phone call, email, a dunning letter, whatever? So identifying risks can also lead to improved collections and reduced credit. AI can look at data and make recommendations for accounts that may be at risk due to any number of factors: aging, current credit utilization, a trend in utilization and spend, and much more. So it's these improved collection practices that can lead directly to reducing outstanding balances, DSO, and improved working capital. So there are some systems out there in the general marketplace. We've built our own as it relates to looking at payment history for each of our customers, when invoices are likely to be paid, and using that both to ensure we're making the next best call, as well as to use that for cash flow projection. So DSO, right? DSO, as you may know, is the average number of days it takes a company to collect payment after a sale is made. So it's the days of sales outstanding. High DSO can limit cash flow. It can impede your ability to invest in growth, strain relationships with vendors, and more. So how do we bring this all together? You know, the impact of AI on DSO. So first and foremost, as Julian already explained, smart data extraction can lead to substantially reduced processing times. In fact, I think one study showed that an AI data extractor can reduce the processing time in Cash App by over 75%. Not only does this reduce processing time, but it creates human efficiencies, which allows your collections people to actually collect and not just enter data. We talked a little bit about natural language processing and how that can help lead to better decisions. Show me any account over 90 days. Show me accounts that went over 60 days yesterday. All of the things that Julian showed with our Gopher interface, and there are lots of other solutions out in the marketplace that allow you to naturally interrogate your data, make better decisions. So these enable your collections practice to improve performance and reduce DSO, right? We talked a little bit about predictive analytics and how we can use that to both make the right call at the right time, to contact customers in the right way, which can substantially improve collections, reducing DSO and improving working capital. But just as important, they can improve customer relationships. Don't call me when you know I'm about to get to pay you and more. So these are the next gen business intelligence initiatives that we see kind of coming to the forefront, right? We have new embedded analytics engine that can democratize access to data, allow drill downs, filtering root cause analysis, the predictive analytics with out-of-the-box models can be overridden as desired. So we've talked a little bit about some of the application of existing or emerging technologies. But I think Julian's going to close us out with a little bit before we get into Q&A, and I think there are some questions already coming in, so thank you for that. But talk a little bit about the future, and what are some of the next steps, and what do we think is going to be happening next in the marketplace? So, Julian.
Yeah, thanks, Don. Yeah, I need to talk a little bit more about the future with generative AI, and I'm doing that because we have. I mean, in my team at the Business Innovation Lab, we have started to really work with, I mean, at the time, GPT, and then now many other type of generative AI. And we've been working with this technology for the past year and a half, and we have learned a lot. So we use that internally first, I mean, for own usage, and then we started to look at the different use case, how we could use this technology to get a better business product, and we even incorporated that into production. So you have seen on the, for example, on the document extraction, how we have used generative AI as something which is not kind of common, right? And I want to explain a little bit why this is going to change everything, okay? So first, generative AI is, I mean, to my opinion, a disruptive revolution. So you can think of generative AI as AI on steroid, because it's kind of cutting edge in terms of capability, hardware capability to build this, what we call this large language model. But what we found out, I mean, so they are trained, by the way, on all the data that you can find. So you take everything from the internet, for example, all the books that have been written, and now you start feeding that with videos, with almost everything that has been built by human. And it was not enough. So now we are building synthetic data. So the AI is building new data, which is maybe of better quality, to be able to create even more capable model, okay? And what it means is that this AI knows about everything. And it's pretty insane. I mean, I guess everybody has tried to ask any question, but if you ask question about DSO, for example, or how to manage a relationship with your customer or with your supplier, what is a PO, how you should, like improve your business process, or what is the, looking at the specific document, is this document right? I mean, you can ask about anything, especially in the business side, financial, procurement, logistic, trade, sales, all of that, it kind of know about everything, right? So it's kind of an expert in everything, which is completely new. I mean, up to now, we had to build a very specific model to train them on very specific data. It took years and it was very specific. Now we have this model that have common human knowledge, okay? And it makes a big difference because you can implement that in any piece of your process without requiring any specialist building any specific AI, okay? And what is as well very interesting is this model can not only read and write, they can also reason. They have logic. They can understand the relationship between like a tax amount, the country of the supplier or the customer, because it's the address is built this way or the phone number is built this way. And the logic of transaction, it kind of understands all this logic and the reasoning, and it's evolving at exponential pace, meaning that the AI that we had 6 months ago is completely different than the AI that we have now, and in a year, 2 years, 3 years, who knows what will it be? I mean, it's going to be insane, right? So what can we do with this generative AI? some people think that just, this AI, like it's one AI, you can chat with that, and that's it, right? It's not actually the end, okay? So new capabilities that we're going to see soon using this type of model is what I call autonomous agent. So the autonomous agent, you can think of that by having a bunch of different AI in the cloud. So you could have thousands of them, okay, working in collaboration, each one having a specific role. Like I'm a finance specialist, I'm a sales, marketing, or I can do development, or I'm the one integrating data or searching on the web or being able to communicate with someone, blah, blah. So you can have a bunch of agents that is specialized. And you have this mastermind that's going to use this reasoning of this large language model to accomplish a task, okay? So the autonomous agent is typically, okay, I want you to do that, okay? And the agent is supposed to do everything to be able to execute the task, including searching, reasoning, but also activating through API your financial system, okay? So that's going to be the next gen of all this application being able to do things for you, okay? That's going to be very powerful. It's also very good at human and machine interaction. So what it means is you can use this type of capability to interact with your customer, your supplier, your partner, anyone, or even internally. And this type of AI will be able to not only get things done, communicating, trying to get information or push you information, but because it's also good at machine interaction, it's going to do all the integration with whatever computer or external system for you, okay? So it's really a way to have this middleman being able to kind of interact with all the human and all the machine all together to be able to help collaboration in this new world, okay? And as I said, because it has a high expertise in finance and etc., you'll have access to this expertise, meaning that you don't need anymore to be the best in how to improve the cash flow in your company. You will be able to use this type of AI to kind of be pretty good at that, okay? So you can think of that as really a lot of things going on in the next few years, actually, and it's going very fast. So Mark, maybe?
That brings us to the Q&A portion of this webinar. If you haven't already submitted your question for Don or for Julian, go ahead, use the Q&A tool on your screen to submit your question to me now. We'll answer as many questions as time allows. Our first question, gentlemen, is from Annabelle. She writes, if my AR report is not yet fully assigned to a particular group of collectors, is it possible for AI to make automated collections based on any predefined rules? How about Julian?
Sure. Why don't I take that one? Yeah. And so, what we're seeing in our collections workspace is the ability to dynamically, just as we're driving how we contact a user or a payer, we have the ability to eventually dynamically generate portfolios and blocks of business for our collections agents. So who should be handling this account, and to dynamically allocate accounts to collections agents on the fly. That's not something we've necessarily dipped our toe into too much, but we have built in that kind of capability. And I think that's something that AI can absolutely support with respect to, based on either predefined rules or rules that it learns over time, how to allocate unallocated books of business at some point. Julian, yeah?
Maybe adding a little bit of color. I mean, when you build a system, you try to be very efficient, to automate, to route things to the right person, and to be in compliance with your rules, your organization, etc. Right? Up to now, we have built this very complex system with a lot of rules, business rules. Okay, so it's a mix of the business process, and you have all these rules to make it work. right? So the first thing we try to do is to say, okay, configuring this rule and managing them and maintaining them is a lot of work, and it's very difficult, and you may have too many rules for too many situations, especially in this use case, okay? So the AI could be used to automatically set up the right rules for you, okay, and to learn and to adjust the rule engine. So that's a way, if you have a system which is rule-based, to kind of have an external AI that will help you build and maintaining the rules that you have, okay? The next generation of AI will be completely integrated into your business process, and the rule will be the AI itself, okay? But it requires a completely new generation of products, so it's not easy to implement, meaning that you cannot say, okay, I want AI to do to route the right document to the right person to do my collection, for example, if your system is not built for that. And it's going to take some time to build a system which are using the AI in the correct way.
We have a question from Chris. Chris writes, how can AI improve a cash application process for digital and mobile customers who AR isn't based off purchase orders and more on royalty statements received well after payments have been received and posted to the ERP?
Yeah, so to me, and it might like a little more clarity on that statement, but it sounds like it's less PO driven. A customer has received a royalty statement, and you need to then collect, and so it's now a process of essentially smarter matching. And if that's the case, then AI has a trainability and a vast capability as it relates to the matching of an order or a payment to a statement, et cetera. So without a little more clarity, it feels to me like it's really the application of smarter matching that might help within the Cash App process. But Julian, anything you'd add, or Chris, any clarification you'd like to post?
No, in my case, as you say, Don, the fact that we can really ingest the structured information from these kind of very particular use case is just a way to get all the information into a system to do the matching and the reconciliation, and to speed up the process, and to maybe get better at managing the cash flow. But it's not, the AI is not going to do everything overnight, right? So it's just going to speed up the process right now, and maybe in the future it will do more.
Sure.
Tanya's wondering what's involved in employing AI in an AR department. How long does it take? What IT resources are involved, and how long does it take to train the technology?
That's obviously it depends on what aspect we want to try to implement. There are various different flavors, as you would imagine. In general, implementation, especially into databases, requires some substantial amount of investment as it relates to mapping and the like. I think one of the things that maybe is a little under appreciated as it relates is sorry, I lost my thought. Chris said, that was spot on. So I'm glad. But one of the things that is under estimated is the time spent training an AI system and all that exception management. So the first time you plug something in, it's not going to be perfect. And there's a human element associated with the training of an AI system and making it smarter and learning and helping it understand what is what and what goes where. So I think in general, that's one of the things that may need to be planned for a little bit more as it relates to the application of AI to any system. But it's hard to say how much does it take without more specifics. But it really depends upon the application. Julian, anything you'd add?
Yeah, because we are in a new world, and AI is a completely different way of thinking and managing a process than what we used to do with regular software. So the tricky part is, implementing AI can be very, very difficult, or could be very, very easy depending on the situation. I would say you have 3 different use cases, okay? The easy use case is you have an application. So let's say that you upgrade your application, or you use a managed AR service, for example, where you don't have to think about anything, right? I mean, the service provider is taking care of everything, so you don't have to do any implementation. You're just using the system and the AI that has been maintained, built, trained by the service provider. Okay, so that's one use case. The second use case is you have an application which is not AI driven, and you want to add some kind of smart capabilities. The easiest way for that is to separate the AI from the process and from the financial system. Okay. And the easiest way for that is to use business intelligence. So basically what you do is you need to collect the data to put that in a data lake, okay? And then you can start developing very specific AI or machine learning solutions to be able to analyze your data, and you're going to push that into a dashboard, okay? So the dashboard can be very simple, like you get just information about, which, for example, which customer you have an issue with, or the risk level, blah, blah. So you can build this dashboard. And the next step is really to do a little bit more like what if or predictive analytics, where the system is not only giving you indication about what to do, but also what if. So for example, if I change, my way of payment, what will be the impact on my cash flow? Or if I change from my contract from this to that on my customer or my supplier, blah, blah, what will be the impact? So that can get pretty deep, but you're not touching into your system. Now, if you want to change the way your system works, including inside the screen, then it can be a way, way bigger project in terms of customization or implementation, etc.
That will be our final word. Julian and Don, thank you so much for an excellent presentation and for sharing your insights with us today. And thank all of you for taking time out of your busy days to join us. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Jovi. Ms. Jovi.
Thank you, Mark. That's all the time we have for today's program. I do just have a few quick housekeeping notes to go over before we officially close out. If you could please fill out the short evaluation form that will appear on the webinar console. This will help us better serve your needs in future webinars. As a reminder, the on-demand materials will be emailed to everyone within 2 business days. This will include a PDF of the slides, as well as a link to the recording of today's presentation. Thank you again to Mark, Don, and Julian for a great presentation today, and thank you to all of our attendees for taking the time out of your busy days to join us. This webinar was brought to you by IOFM and sponsored by Corecentric. Thank you all and have a great day.
Thank you all.